I call this meeting of the Northwest Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. Now we're moving to closed session. And start out with a public meeting to discuss the 2018-19 budget and proposed tax rate. Dr. Warren?
Board, this is a requirement by the Texas Education Code. Every school district in Texas must hold, the school board must hold a public meeting to discuss the proposed budget and the proposed tax rate. All of the required postings have been done about this. Mr. Graswich, any comments on our proposed budget and or tax rate?
The tax rate is unchanged. The average taxes did go up by $346.19, but that's because the average taxable value of residences increased from $238,000 to $262,000. That's, of course, not, you can't apply that as a straight percentage because that includes new construction as well as existing properties, but that pretty much sums it up. Of course, this is a public hearing and open to the public.
So, Mrs. Cupp, we just need to see if anyone has any comments or questions about the proposed budget or proposed tax rate.
I do have a statement for you, Mr. Graswich, in that we have no control over the appraised value of any piece of property.
Yeah, to elaborate on that slightly, there are 3 counties that we're in, Denton, Tarrant, and Wise, and the appraisals are done by the county appraisal districts in each of those. And then they assess the values against the tax rate, and it is collected by the Denton County Tax Assessor Collector.
All right, anyone want to comment?
Okay, then we will close the public meeting to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate, and we will open another public hearing to discuss 2018-19 application for federal funded programs. Dr.
Board, another requirement by law that we must hold a public hearing on our application for federally funded programs. Dr. Alexander.
Hello. Save the best for the last meeting right here. Now, good evening. Federal programs, in order to complete the ESSA consolidated grant, we are required to share the federal entitlements and how those entitlements will be spent and allocated within the grant. I listed here the parts of the ESSA consolidated grant that are required with a quick definition, and a new one to us in the second year is Title IV Part A. Just, I won't read every piece there, but it is the second year that we will be participating in that grant. We have 3 additional federal programs that we also utilize with IDEA B Preschool, and the Carl Perkins grants, but I do not write those out of the Student Services Office, and they are not part of the ESSA consolidated grant. Estimated planning amounts just came in last week, so in order to prepare for the grant, these are the actual estimated planning amounts that we were given from TEA based upon our enrollment. And as you can see there, those are the amounts at this juncture. I do anticipate that once the grant is written, that's what we will be awarded through our Notice of Grant Award. We had a slight change this year in order for us to determine our system-wide campus supports. For our Title I campuses, we utilize the snapshot of our PEIMS data each year. As you can see there, the district average was 18.67%, and then the campuses are then ranked. In the past, last year and years previously, Justin Elementary has been one of those campuses, but they were at around 24.26% this year, and therefore there was a pretty good spread between those that were in the range for title. Really, we look at 35% and definitely 40%, but there is a 125% allocation rule that we are able to utilize in order to support campuses that are above the district average by this amount. So these will be our 6 Title I campuses for this upcoming school year. In federal funds advisory, we must plan. We met on May the 7th. Justin did participate as we are growing, district boundaries changing. We continued to train them in case anything were to change in the future. We also transitioned with one of their staff members through compensatory education. We are able to do that as well when someone has been receiving title funds from the grant. These are the things that we do in our meeting. We must complete our CNA. The campuses look at their SIPs. They do a lot of work in the planning and making the determination of how they will utilize their federal funds. And just a quick overview of what those campuses will utilize: CIT, a second intervention STAR teacher, additional tutoring, continued utilization of CIS for Seven Hills, and parent engagement training. The change for Prairie View from last year, they did switch in ranking a little bit too with Seven Hills, but there will have the addition of CIS for the first time this upcoming school year. Clara Love will continue with the same supports that they had last year, as well as Hatfield. And then Gene Pike and Chisholm Trail will also utilize the CIT. Homeless is 1% of the grant goes automatically into homeless. There are some specific allocations set aside based on federal regulation, and 1% of the total amount of the grant does go to homeless funding. For Title I, Part D, which is Denton Creek, we continue to utilize for instructional support a half position, GED preparation, supplemental materials, and then staff development. And I'm anticipating, based on the data this year, that we'll be looking at more staff development and instructional materials for mathematics. That was an area of weakness. We made some gains in reading, but we still need to work on math a little bit at Denton Creek. For Title II, we've done a lot. We have an early childhood coordinator half position for staff development, an RTI coordinator, and we continue to utilize training opportunities through Title II for high-quality staff development. This next year with Dr. Espinoza, we're looking at getting child development associate credentials for our pre-K and possibly PPCD paraprofessionals, and then certification reimbursements for bilingual. Title III, we have a new position that was determined this year that will be utilized for a bilingual parent educator in order to build Parent Resource Center and work with our families through Title III, and then more materials in our Language Academy. And that is the overview of our federal programs. Anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I'll close this public hearing that we've discussed application for federal fund programs.
Very good.
And we'll reconvene now in our regular meeting. Meeting will be reconvened, and we will now have the invocation and pledge.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, folks, thanks for being here. It's good to see everybody tonight. If you feel comfortable doing so, please pray with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day, and Lord, we just tell you how much appreciative we are of being part of our school district, and Lord, be with our board members tonight as they make decisions that are so important for our kids. Lord, thank you for all of those who attend tonight, and just see us all safely home. And just as always, we ask that you give your love, your guidance, your wisdom, and your protection to our children. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, folks, we have two very special guests tonight. Sarah, Shane, head on to the microphone. We actually have three representatives of the Sproles family that are a lot better than what we usually get to see. So we appreciate. Sarah, what grade are you going to be in now?
I'm going to be a junior.
Going to be a junior. Byron Nelson?
Yes.
Very good. You excited about your junior year?
Yes.
Good. Shane, what grade are you going to be in?
8th grade.
8th grader. You excited about that?
Yes, sir.
We can tell. Well, Sarah, Shane, we appreciate you coming up and leading our pledges. If we'll do the American and then the Texan, please.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Very good job. Stay right there. Mrs. Kopp has a present for you. That's the Sproles crew. Good job.
Okay, item 9, recognitions. Dr. Warren?
All right, Mrs. Conklin, do we have some recognitions tonight?
We do. We have quite a few. If you and Ms. Kopp can join us at the front, we'll start off with Jerry Cantu, our communications coordinator, recognizing a new partner in education.
Thank you, Emily. At this time, we're pleased to recognize one of our longtime partners in education, Fellowship of the Parks, for their continued support of Northwest ISD. At this time, I'd like to ask our Director of Guidance and Counseling, Jamie Farber, to join us up front. Here tonight from the Fellowship of the Parks is Executive Coordinator and Children's Pastor, Shannon McMahon. Go ahead and join us, Shannon. In April, the church hosted its annual Run for Change run that benefits area counseling departments, including Northwest ISD. The Run for Change raises awareness for adolescent suicide prevention. This year, Fellowship of the Parks is donating $8,100 to the NISD counseling department. We'd like to thank the Fellowship of the Parks for their commitment to help teens in our community. Thank you.
Okay, if you are getting recognized for a Board of Trustee award this evening, will you line up with Jerry Cantu right here, please? Okay, and at this time, I'd like for John Graswich to join us up at the front. John is our Deputy Superintendent for Business and Operations, and he is accepting an award on behalf of the school district. The Northwest ISD School District received the ASBO International's Meritorious Budget Award, that's a mouthful, for its 2017-18 annual budget. This award reflects the district's commitment to sound fiscal management practices and represents a significant achievement for the financial services staff and the school district. And ISD has received this award for more than 15 years. Okay, so this evening we are recognizing students who have achieved the Trustee Award of Excellence. So I would like to invite all of our school board members down to the front to help present our medals. This award recognizes students who have achieved selected district, regional, state, national, and international awards. And tonight, student groups were still competing during the time of awards, so we are recognizing them this evening. Okay. So our first group is Northwest High School's That Better team. They qualified for Destination Imagination Global Finals and placed third at state. So I'm going to call their name. If you give me your card, I will call your name as you walk across. So we have Clark Strong, Kylie Gildenblatt, and Anna Thornell. Get a team picture? We'll get a quick team picture for them. Sorry. And we appreciate the students and their families for coming up on a summer night. We do have, next we're recognizing our Eaton High School softball team that was the regional semifinalist for this year. And we have one that is representing this evening, Brooke Wells. We also have head coach Lynn Rotman here, and we have assistant coaches Kim Reed and Danielle Barrio. Come on up. Okay, and our last recognition is our Eaton High School baseball team. They are state winners. All right, so first we have Sean Klein, Colby Seltzer, Zach Wilson, Brock Weber, Jack Angus, I want to make sure I pronounce that. Brendan Moore, Kate Winquist, Chandler Miller, Cole Plowman, Jared Seals, Seth Perriette, Michael Hoover, Bryson Luckett, and Caleb Hull. And before we take a team picture, we also have their coaches here this evening. So we have head coach Jeremy Fothery, Jeremy Walker, assistant coach, Chad Golke, assistant coach, Andy McDonald, assistant coach, and we have Ross Crumley, strength and conditioning coach. So you guys might have to make a couple of rows for your picture. Good job. And that's all for our recognition this evening.
You ready? Okay, item 11, consideration and possible action and review. Did I miss something?
Let's do our public participation first. See
Oh, do we have any?
Never mind.
Oh, I didn't have a card, so, okay.
Always.
Sorry about that. All right, consider and possible action of revisions of superintendent's contract. Dr. Warren?
Do I get to give a recommendation on this? Board, you have already renewed my contract, which I'm very appreciative of. We do that in January. This is two things on this one today. Every year you vote on the superintendent's contract just because my salary is in the contract. So if to get the 2% that everybody else gets, you have to actually vote to do that. But also, we're going to change one item, and the only thing we're changing on paragraph 4.4, we're changing the title of a paragraph from an employee benefit stipend to it's going to be called a business expense item, and that's just to comply with the new federal laws on health care, Obamacare. Christy, Mrs. Hobbs recommended we just change the language of that paragraph. Other than that, it's your pleasure.
Madam President,
Mr. Wright?
I move to approve the superintendent's contract.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Wright, a second by Mr. Sluter. Any comments or questions?
Oh, yes.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Lord.
Dr. Warren, I'd really like to say I've enjoyed the last couple of years with you. You've jumped into our group. You've made it running. We've made great strides. I can't speak for your staff of how good you are at that level, but I can say from the board level, I really appreciate working with you, the opportunity to get better each and every year, and I know we're doing that. I do appreciate the staff's great strides in helping us get better every year. So thank you, Dr. Warren.
Okay. All those in favor? 7-0.
6-0.
6-0. That's right. Ron's not
Ron's not
here. I
here.
forgot.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, moving to item 12, consent agenda.
Madam President,
Mr. Sluter.
I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted, please.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Sluter, a second by Mr. Sproles. Any comments? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
All right. Item 13, discussion and action items, long-range technology plan review. Dr. Warren?
Board, this is an action item tonight. If you remember, Adam did a great job introducing this last time. This is our new long-range technology plan. It begins on page 76 in your packet. His team, and the committee have done a great job of renewing this plan and definitely aligning it to our new strategic framework. So Adam is here to answer any of your questions, and after those, I would recommend approval.
Dr. Warren, Madam President, Board of Trustees, thank you. Are there any questions? We had none last time, so there's a little gamble going on to see if I can make this the shortest presentation ever, but I would entertain any questions you have. We did put a lot of work into this, so it is near and dear to my heart, and the committee members feel very strongly on how we align it to the strategic mission and vision. Yes, ma'am.
You may have addressed this, and I may have just blanked it, but is it not a $2 million increase this year?
So the presentation that I made last time would be the information. It was informational, and actually it's not in the plan. The information is on how we're aligning it to the strategic mission and vision goals, and then what we're doing to align that with what we're doing with other entities like E-Rate and ESC 11. So it's ESC 11 that we'll see a big, significant savings next year on our fiber project that we have actually in the bond plan. So it's part of the bond plan, but combining all that together, it'll be about a little over $4 million in savings next year. So it'll be a little better than that.
Okay.
All told, it's $1.9 million in E-Rate. I think that's the question you're asking.
Probably.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's a significant dollar item that it's allowed us to use the strategic plan.
Okay. Any other questions?
I like saving money.
Madam President,
Dr. Simpson?
I move to approve the long-range technology plan as recommended by administration. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Simpson, a second by Dr. Roush. Any other discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
B, 2018-19 Student Handbook and Code of Conduct. Dr. Warren?
Board, again, this is an action item from the last board meeting. Susie did a fantastic job, as usual, laying out the new code of conduct. Not a lot of things changed because this was not a legislative year. As with Adam, after your questions, I would recommend approval of the 2018-2019 Student Code of Conduct. Any questions for Susie?
Madam President.
Mr. Sluter.
I would move, let me see the motion, to approve the 2018-2019 Student Code of Conduct as recommended by the administration.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Sluter, a second by Mr. Wright. Any other discussion?
Just a comment, and I know that in the new strategic plan we're putting a lot of emphasis on social and emotional well-being, and so I'm thinking that in the future, the code of conduct I know seems to be rule-driven and about behavior and consequences, but I'm wondering as we go forward how we might be able to really add in the kinds of ways that we support the social and emotional aspects of the student learning.
That's a great comment. Both through the student handbook and the code of conduct, I think those are the things just two of the documents that we'll be looking at today to voice that support.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. Okay, item C, adopt the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Dr. Warren?
Mr. Graswich.
So, gee, it seems like we just started on it. Maybe not. The Board of Trustees reviewed the budget in a series of workshops that started back actually in February and March. The compensation plan was adopted at the end of May. On May 29th, Brenda Withers then finalized the personnel budgeting, which was loaded into the budget, and everything was finalized and brought to you for your information. Of course, earlier tonight we held the public hearing, and we will now be adopting the budget. I would mention that the tax rate is scheduled after we get the finalized official tax roll as opposed to the estimate, and that's scheduled for August the 27th, the second meeting when we come back. I would also point out that we are adopting 4 different funds of budgets tonight. There's the general fund, which is $203 million in revenue and $215 million in expenditures. Special revenue funds, which in essence are grants. The debt service fund, which is our funds that we raise through property taxes to make our bond payments. And then, of course, the capital projects funds, which are funded through bond sales and then spent down throughout the year as they build the projects from the 2017 bond authorization election. The only other thing I might point out is that our budget is largely funded locally. 87% of the revenues are from property taxes and investments, mostly property taxes. We get about 11% from the state and then 3% from federal grants of various natures. So essentially this is a local budget which is administered by the local board. Be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I recommend adoption.
Hey, Mr. Graswich, on the general fund, what's the final number for the deficiency we're going to have?
Let's see. It's about $12.5 million. That's a little bit down, about $2 million down from the last forecast. I think the last forecast was about 15, and this is 14 and a half thereabouts, and it's come in at 12.5 million after we ran all the final numbers. And the biggest problem we have in getting that nailed down is the estimate of what personnel is going to cost, and personnel in this district is about 70% of the budget. And so we're working with estimates throughout the planning period.
Okay, because maybe this might answer this question. When we first started talking numbers way back, we started at about 20 million in deficit. And then back in May, we were 14, and now we're down to 12. So is that, or I guess if we're cutting things,
the biggest jump was essentially we start with what is requested, and then we go after the superintendent and the cabinet and the staff review everything, and there's a big drop from requested to recommended. And then as we go through the recommended to the adopted process, that's when we start finalizing and bringing across the payroll numbers. And, which will be a bit conservative in our estimates.
So nothing big is being cut, or is it just
no, this is
sharpening the pencil to
it's
the numbers?
It's just kind of how the numbers fell out, to be honest.
Okay.
It does not reflect a programmatic change.
Okay. Thank you.
And I did go through and check that all the special allotment programs, based on the data that we're currently using, are fully funded at the appropriate levels. And by that, I'm referring to gifted and talented bilingual comp ed, special ed, and I'm suddenly realizing I'm leaving. Oh, career and tech, how can I forget? Oh, Selena's not here, so maybe listen. Anyway.
Steve, I think some of those significant things, especially that the board did early on, and that this is one of the things that we really needed the guidance from the board on. You know, you wanted, because of what we call the deficiencies of the Texas school finance system right now, and there are many, we needed a clear vision from the board about the tax ratification election. And what we heard loud and clear was you, me, the team of 8 needed a solid year, if not a year and a half, to really get into our communities this coming school year and really understand what their needs are. So understanding that a TRE was not going to happen this school year, we're not going to ask permission for more tax dollars. We needed to live as much as, what we had as then. And so I can't say enough about the staff who got in there and truly worked to really analyze who we are and what we did and how do we be us, maybe with those dwindling funds. And we've got a legislative session next year, so that's going to be some glimmer of hope that they might do some things for us. But I think more importantly, our team, the team of 8, is really going to need to be getting into our communities and really understanding the expectations that they have for us, both academically, instructionally, and in the area of the tax rate and budget.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Any other questions, comments?
Madam President,
Mr. Wright?
move to adopt the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, as recommended by the administration.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Wright, a second by Dr. Simpson. All those in favor? 6-0.
And I just wanted to add thank you, John, for the memo and the detail. It was very helpful.
You're welcome.
Good work. Thank you, board.
Okay, D, Local District Policy Update 2018.05, affecting board policy DH local. Dr. Warren?
All right, board, this is not a fun one. Dr. Cayley and Mrs. Hobbs, our in-house attorney, came to me a couple of weeks ago, and we need to make a change to DH local. DH local, if you look on, it begins on page 257 in your packet, and this is concerning employee standards of conduct. And we've had to deal with some circumstances this school year that we really didn't want to, but and I think we may have been a little late on this. I think many of the districts around us have already put this language in. But on page 261, and that's page 5 of 5 of this policy, it gives some more examples of why employees are required to notify us if they are arrested or indicted, convicted of said crimes, and this just broadens the reasons and it gives us more information in a timely manner to be able to make decisions on what's the best course to take for our children. So we wanted to bring this to you. Dr. Cayley, any more comments?
No, the ones that are listed on this slide right now are not explicitly listed in Policy DH. We are notified through DPS Clearinghouse of the arrest of any of our employees, but there are certain offenses that they are required to report to their supervisor within 3 calendar days of an arrest. And these 6 we would like to add to the policy as a requirement. As Dr. Warren said, there are a few local districts that have recently added these to their policy. And we would like to do this to help us be more prompt in being notified so we can determine if we need to investigate further, possibly put the employee on leave during the investigation, and feel it will help to support and maintain a safe environment for our students and our staff. And this is a discussion action tonight because we would like to get this in place as a requirement for the 18-19 school year.
I'm sorry, it has listed as action on here?
Mm-hmm. Discussion action, yes.
Discussion action.
Dr. Cayley, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the penalties that could result in violation of these policies?
could result in anything from a reassignment. It could be termination of employment. It depends on the nature of the offense. It depends on the nature of the position that's held by the employee. If there have been any previous offenses.
Okay, thank you.
And again, on these, it's not an admission of guilt. We're not being the judges of these. It's just that we need to be notified because of the positions that most of our people are in who deal with, especially around children. We need to know what is going on out there, and we talk to staff every year that we live in glass houses, and our actions outside of school are just as important as our actions inside school. So we just want to make sure that our staff understands that here's their responsibilities to us and to the school district if they do get involved in these kind of, if something happens and they have been involved in this kind of thing, that we are notified in a timely manner. And so that's why I'd like to recommend approval of this.
Madam President?
Mr. Sproul.
I move to approve local district policy update 2018.05 affecting board policy DH local as recommended by the administration.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Sproul, a second by Dr. Roush. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Okay, 5-1. 5-4. 1.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, E, program change to high school breakfast program and amendment to contract with Airmark. Dr. Warren.
Board, this is another discussion action item we'd like you to consider. Back in 2014, I believe I got a history lesson from John and Dana, that in 2014 the board allowed the district to opt out of the National Lunch Program.
Correct.
Is that correct, Dana?
Yes, correct.
Which allowed us to offer new choices to kids to try to get more kids eating lunch with us. And now basically we would like to do the same thing for breakfast. We are noticing that we're having a drop-off, especially at the high school level, of kids stopping at Whataburger or Chick-fil-A before they make it to us. And so we've come up with this idea. Dana's done a great job trying to lead us through this, of trying to do the same thing and being able to be outside those the rules and regulations of the National Breakfast Program, to be able to offer the kids better choices to eat every morning and try to get them more involved. And if we do get them more involved, that also is a revenue generator. And we know that we've been talking a lot about how do we generate more revenue for the district, and so that would be a good thing. So Dana, anything else?
No, that's it. I've got two folks from Aramark here tonight. Josiah Williams, he's our interim food service director right now.
Josiah, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, sir?
Good.
And then our regional director is here, Gina Ratnayak. That's right. So I was going to let Josiah present to y'all tonight, but it seems like you did a pretty good job.
Josiah, do you have any new information to present rather than what I just said?
No, sir.
So,
everything on the pack was good.
Board, any questions?
I do have a question. So what market research for the new products that we're offering would tell us that, hey, I really want to eat breakfast in our cafeterias?
Most of the things that we're looking to offer are going to be kind of piggybacking off of what we did for lunch. So the biggest thing is going to be Subway breakfast sandwiches, build your own, like stations that you can go up, get your parfait, kind of how we do here at Admin Dining, build with what you want in that parfait. And we went to a couple of the school districts around here to see what they were doing. The biggest one is Grapevine right next door, and kind of bounce some ideas off of them. They talked to us about what they did, and this is what we came up with.
So what percentage of participation do they have in the Grapevine schools that you visited?
The actual participation I didn't get. They looked to see when they went off the breakfast program, it was about a 20% jump in participation that they got.
Make sure y'all understand too, it's just the high schools too. It's not all of the campuses. So make sure. And this also allows us to open up the Java cities in the morning too. Right now, we can't open those locations, the coffee shops up, so we'll also open the coffee shops up in the morning to the students and teachers.
So high school kids on caffeine, do they learn better? Or just curious.
How do we measure that? Dr. Thornell, do you?
They enjoy it.
But the middle school, they'll still have the grab-and-go options, or are y'all still doing that
Correct.
for the breakfast?
Correct, yes.
Okay. On a side note, thank you.
Absolutely.
I like
Our
the
pleasure.
thought. And I look forward to meeting the winner, too, so I'm trying the recipe, so.
You're going to love her. It's a good recipe.
Yeah. Are y'all going to highlight that at on the calendar, the food calendar next year, or on the menu?
We have put it already. We had it the last couple months, and then we had it at our food show that we ran at Byron Nelson.
Okay.
And it was popular, so our dietitian's trying to figure out where she could plug it in and make it work.
Oh, good.
But as you need to make it at home, try it out.
Yes.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Board, I would recommend approval.
Board?
Madam President.
Mr. Sproles?
I move to approve the development of locally funded breakfast program at high school campuses and to approve the second addendum to second amendment and contract number 016-021-02-016 between Aramark Education Services, LLC, and Northwest ISD as recommended by the administration.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Sproles, a second by Mr. Wright. All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board. Great job. Thank you, Board. And Josiah, thank you.
Okay, moving on to reports. Student Services District Effectiveness Report. Dr. Warren?
And we have Dr. Alexander right back up here
Hello.
to give us our Student Services Effectiveness Report. Jennifer, please.
All right. I'm going to jump in just real quickly to give an overview. Of course, everything we do, we reflect back to our DIP and our priority goals of the superintendent. Our department is large, and we have a task of falling into pretty heavily in each one of these goals. So we started streamlining and talking as a team and developing our goals and priorities together. And if there are any specific questions after tonight, because I can only be so brief to get our main high points in, but if there are any specifics that I can't answer, I'm happy to sit down and do anything that, I need to go over and support you. As you'll see, I'm going to quickly, I will not read all of these, but introduce some of my team members. They are fantastic. I'll just have to say before getting into this, they work very hard. They are my think tank, my brain trust, and we work very hard together. Marta Smith, first of all, is not here this evening, but just to show an overview of what she and I worked through together in managing grants and also the SHARS and Medicaid finance. Those are the things we work through together to support our teams and our campuses through federal funding and compliance. Special education, if Micah Gerke, the Director of Special Education, Chris Kelly, and Stacy Parker, Supervisor of Special Education. Those are some of the overview of the activities that these ladies help me with on a daily basis. And Student Services, Dr. McNeese and Jennifer Bailey are here. Those are some of the overview of their team. And Guidance and Counseling, Jamie Farber, you're here this evening. She handles those aspects. Health Services, Tricia Asker-John, who is now our coordinator for the district for nursing. That's what she oversees and supports as well. And then that last little column just kind of is in my office with my team for this last year. So as you can see, those are the tasks that we handle on a daily basis. So moving on to federal programs and monitoring, this is an overview of what we managed this past year in funding. We did have some unique grants. We may not get the Title I 1003 school improvement this year. We did this past year, and we won't know until next year. So we kind of have some things that are interchangeable there. Marta does a fantastic job of helping our campuses and support us through the budget process and overview of compliance. She also handles the SHARS cost reports and Medicaid reimbursement settlements, in which you can see in just this last year the increase that we had in the revenue. and the difference that we're making there and the intentionality that she's giving to the focus, and also working with Dana Chandler in transportation to increase the revenue that we are receiving. Student services at a glance. I'm not going to go over all these numbers. We are interchangeable, but this is a snapshot of some of the numbers that we handle in the students in our different areas of support. And we track these on a regular basis, but it's often a moving target because in our programs they are fluid and students are continuously moving in and out. Some of them, we would have some of the McKinney-Vento could overlap. Sure. Some of your Title III would overlap. Absolutely. As you can see, too, when you look at your 504, you have as many students in 504 that you're serving in special education. And so those do not overlap. But we do, absolutely. And I have Alpha Best on here as well, and that's kind of an average. They've been up higher than that, but on average, we had about 815 students enroll in that program as well. Pregnancy-related services means that those are also students who have children that we continue to provide services through in the district as well. Student effectiveness for special education. I'm not going to go over every one of these, but I will say with our new initiative and for supporting PBMAS and putting that really strong focus on our students in instruction, we did a large, massive training through the special education department in which they trained 2,600 teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators, evaluators, and related service personnel in this last school year. In saying how many of those are some of the district trainings on the other side that you can see that they really focused on our goals and objectives to give that extra training and support. We also have our CPI training, which is our nonviolent crisis intervention training that we are required through our TBSI initiatives, and they did 139 initials and 223 recertifications throughout the year. And they do that again through the special education department. The very top bullet that I didn't spend a lot of time on, but it's been huge for us. It is a new system, a management system, student management system of eStar, in which we have been able to streamline special education and RTI, 504, and LPACs all into one robust system. We have had 4 different systems that handled all of those things, and now we are able to generate some real strong data for our staff and students with that one system. We've had some intentionality, as you know, on PBIS. We have put in iReady, and we've seen a lot of growth within iReady. iReady measures end of year, beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year student progress. We have seen significant growth with being able to utilize this tool in writing stronger IEPs and getting in and supporting students where they are. We've had changes to behavior in which we've had scored intervention plans that have dropped 6% in 2 years. And we've had increased plans in elementary, but that's good. We have intentionality with behavior, and so we are putting plans into place to target those. So we would expect to see that go up, and we've seen a decrease in the middle school plans by 7%. We've had successful due process findings, which is always a celebration for our special education team because that is a lot of hours that they have to put in, and they've done really well in supporting their campuses with those tasks. More on effectiveness. I have no idea why that box shows up because it didn't show up on mine, so I'm sorry. I don't know. Sometimes I'm Google Doc challenged. Behavior support success. Only 6 students went on to SEEK programs this year compared to 15 last year. That's huge. If our students are in our classrooms and getting instruction, we're definitely going to see that improvement in PBMAS. And just for them all the way around socially. So that's a big celebration for them. And PBIS is implemented through Region 11. So we had those particular campuses that are listed there, Beck, Hatfield, Granger, Thompson, and Schluter, brought in Region 11 to train on PBIS explicitly, and we will complete the rest of the district this upcoming school year. We've had gains in iReady that I shared there. We've had 25-point gains in scaled scores in reading and 17 scaled score points in math. Those are big gains in special education. We've had transition meetings that we held for every campus between April and May, students transitioning between campuses. And we've had some great planning on our campus's part to be able to schedule around student need and personalizing that education, which will go beautifully in with our new strategic plan. Teachers are collaborating more, and student-led ARDs are becoming a part. NHS, did they do all of theirs? All student-led ARDs? 100% student-led ARDs at Northwest High School. So that's a a big goal that the special education department had. Transition means a lot of different things to us in special education. They transition the minute they come in the door. But we have worked hard in our RISE program and developed partnerships with the Texas Workforce Solutions. So Lynn has helped us with that, and we have had our students at RISE and at Byron Nelson High School that are starting to have weekly employment training services through the workforce. So that's exciting. And then we had a little tag, and I didn't put the video on, I probably should have, but we have one of our RISE students, Lauren Fairchild, who was hired for the Down Syndrome Partnership. And I'm just telling you, the way that she handled the phone call when they called her and told her that she would be employed and would be the face of that, it's absolutely amazing to see the significant work that our teams do and the outcomes for our children. That's small. I know you can probably see it better, but that's, even though it's early and preliminary, we still have some scores, that is huge to see PBMAS predicted indicators looking that way. That is attributed to the hard work of the special education department and the campuses. They've done an excellent job. And then I just gave you kind of a glimpse at what an iReady document looks like so we can tier our students. It puts them in an RTI tier. And we're using it for special education so that we can really get in and look at how we determine staff and services and IEPs. Some of our challenges, as you can guess, meeting the needs of all the special education students with the growth, and then meeting the needs of our bilingual students that are also in special education. That continues to be a challenge, and behavior. And that's a national challenge, and it's still our challenge, but I feel like that we're hitting it head on, and they're continuing to work hard and do a good job with that. And then training. It's just continuing to keep up with the legal aspects of ARD meetings and the training that goes on with that. We will have some challenges with the new TEA corrective action, but I feel like that our district's prepared way beyond to take that on. There'll be some challenges with the dyslexia component, but we're preparing and we'll be ready for that. Guidance and counseling. Jamie has worked really hard with her team to put in the Texas On-Course Academy, and so that they go through 28 self-paced modules, the counselors do, and they can earn 16 badges in order to better prepare students for their selections and moving on through college and career. So 50% of our high school counselors have earned their 16 badges, and 36% of the middle school counselors have earned their 16 badges to be completely finished with On-Course. All 8th grade students completed their personal graduation plans in either CCR courses or AVID. All 9th through 12th grade students meet one-on-one with their counselor. That's huge. If you know how many counselors we have that they meet face-to-face with every student, they really put that effort in. And then it's the first year that all 5th grade students have entered their own information and selected their courses in HAC. And 80% of all students enrolled in advanced academics. Naviance. This is good information to know what the students are saying. I mean, it's their portfolio that they work through and their system. And so just to give you a little information about how we look and see what our students are doing. And these are just samples. And then the next one, they rank us and let us know on a scale to 1 to 4 if they're ready, if they feel prepared, and how they feel about the support that they got, so that we can better plan and give them what they need in moving toward their college and career. Jamie also works with our One Voice, One Choice, and these are student-led. This is student work and trying to identify what students feel that they need support in. And these are the main things that continue to come up over and over, that they deal with: anxiety, stress, depression, bullying, peer pressure, relationships, and sleep deprivation, so that we can better develop our social emotional learning and supports around them. So in the spring of 2018, all counselors reviewed the standards in the Texas Core Counseling Competencies and in Mindsets and Behaviors, CASEL's SEL competencies, and they worked through the core constructs of student social emotional behavior competencies and emotional intelligence. We had Jamie's put a lot of work in through the character ed with Dr. Griffin, and then working even further into training our counselors in preparation for some of the social emotional learning. We know that if students are taken care of and Maslow's basic needs and their social emotional learning is met, then they can better learn their academics. And so we are continuing to work to support them there. Challenges, time allotted. 80% of the time should be spent in direct student services, but we have a lot of time that they're in RTI 504 SST and paperwork, so we're trying to work on streamlining. eStar did help with some of that when they're not having to upload multiple documents. So as much as that sounds, like it's just a system could be arbitrary, but really it made a big difference in having things streamlined. You're not having to spend as much time on that, but that still continues to be a challenge. The academic requirements by the state have increased, as have the social emotional needs, and then balancing advanced academics and post-secondary planning. And then some of the stress levels that we want to make sure that we're intentional about, that the students shared with us through One Voice, One Choice. Health services, we've put in the campuses, a lot of the campuses did the Project Adam, which were awarded here at one of the board meetings. You saw some of the campuses that had completed that. Asthma 411 will start next year, in which we do a partnership with UNT and Cooks, which they will provide the supplies, and we will work through rolling that out in 2018. That just gives you an overview of how many vision, hearing, and spinal screenings we completed within the district. And next year, the spinal screening changes have changed. They don't go by grade level anymore. I believe it's 10 and 12 in girls and 13 in boys. And so those ages, I have to look to make sure I was right on that. And so that's how that will be handled next year. Data collection, Trish has done an excellent job in streamlining the health conditions in eSchool and making sure that our teachers and administrators know the health conditions that our students can have the minute they pull them up and see them in the system in eSchool. And then clinic substitutes, we've done HR has been great. We used to do our own clinic substitutes. What is that, 2 years ago? We would do our own. So now we've written a job description for that, and HR has helped us in building a pool so that our nurses are not having to handle finding their own subs. Monthly monitored services, immunizations, that's a big thing we have to track, of course. And this year we're using Cognos to report, and so that helps. And we've been able to push out. I'm looking at you. We've been able to push out to the families when immunizations are due, so that nothing is left to guess, and we're pushing those out more readily. Monitored medical alerts, just so you know, that's about 3,122 students have some sort of health care plan in which they are monitored for medical alerts. And our main ones are heavy hitters, asthma, EpiPen, seizures, and diabetes 1 and 2. So if anyone wonders what nursing handles, there it all is. Some of the challenges, of course, is electronic medical records with interactive parent portals to enhance their communication, and then clinic space. So, and I think we're working on that. It's been great with our new buildings and us partnering and pairing and looking at what we can do to make our clinics have private spaces and be a little larger, because we handle a lot more medically now. And so that's been good. But some of our older designs, we do struggle a little bit with space. And then emergency planning and nurse training for mass casualty events. That's continues to be a little bit of a challenge. And then, of course, I mentioned the spinal screen coming up. Student services. So Dr. McNeese and Jennifer Bailey are here. And one of the huge rollouts that we did in that particular department this year was RTI, and it's been phenomenal. They've completed a fantastic job. And so that's just a few things. I won't spend there, but they went through. Now we change it, because, we changed our beliefs and our vision and mission, but this is just an idea that they really got behind it. A parent brochure for parent communication. They developed an RTI website, flow charts, and newsletters, and they've done a fantastic job on the communication and the rollout. Just an example. This is just a sample. It's not complete, but these are some of the trainings that were offered. They were not mandatory except for the very first one. It was mandatory to get it started, as it was a very, very new initiative at this level, because we redesigned the entire RTI support process. But we have about 3,082 students right now in RTI, and they put all of the process together, and then Jennifer has met with all of the campus teams in helping identify consistently who their students are and how to monitor them. These are just some examples of the pyramids of intervention, and I know you've probably seen some of them that look similar, but these are completely different in a couple of ways. Jennifer met with our curriculum teams and our curriculum coordinators, and they went through all the resources that we currently have That way we weren't reinventing the wheel, and then leveled them out so they could see what they could use for each tier of intervention and support. And they also worked with the behavior interventionists to do the same and created the behavior intervention pyramid as well. Pre-K. As you know, this will be our second year to do tuition-based pre-K, and enrollment has increased in 2 years by 56%. We added midday transportation, and we have the addition of 3 new pre-Ks, Lakeview, Haslett this year, and Curtis is already full. And the challenges that and I will say that Curtis, Nance, I'm looking at Susie, Curtis, Nance, Peterson, and Thompson are full. So if that tells you where our big push in early childhood is happening on that side of the district. And our challenges, of course, are space for program growth and cost effectiveness of midday transportation. But we do believe it's worth it because we have increased our enrollment. Where we ended at 299 this year, we'll have 376 already to start, and we're still enrolling. And so those are not all tuition, those are qualifying, but I can say that we have also increased our qualifying students with the ability of the midday transportation. So we are serving more students in the last 2 years than we had been stagnant the prior years, getting about the same enrollment in the previous 3 years, and so we are serving more students. We also, last year, because we kind of started a little bit late, we did a 9-month pay, which made it a little more expensive. Even though the cost is still the same because the state sets the cost, we were able to spread it out across 10 months this year, which made it a little more reasonable in assisting with that expense. These are just some of the end-of-the-year pre-K results that we get. The state does require and have high-quality pre-K requirements, and this gives us an idea of who our students are, and then we can track them. And it just gives us some indicators of where we're performing when they leave us. 504. Again, eStar with that has helped streamline the information tremendously. That immediate access is what we're wanting. We want to make sure that our student plans are there and our teachers have access to them, and we're able to provide the accommodations that the students need. Dr. McNeese has worked with Melissa DeSimone, and they will be streamlining those into EduGents so that teachers will have immediate access as well out of their EduGents, and they can sort their classes based on accommodation and know who those students are. So that's going to be fantastic. Some of the things that we do in the Department for Compensatory Education is that we have been able to provide at-risk academic teachers at the 3 high schools, a counselor at DAP. We continue to pay 50% of intervention specialists for STAR intervention teachers. We do campus tutors for at-risk, and then some of the other classes that we handle through SSI Math and all of the practical writing courses and ACP. And we have Parent Resource Center that we have helped through our C-High opportunities as well. Summer school. I'm wrong on my elementary number because it was early when I did this, and it's now 1,004 and that we're serving in summer school. So that is a correction to that one piece. And then secondary is still around 405. We have added for AlphaBest. Last year they had 2 locations, I believe, or we had for after school, for childcare. But this year we have 3 locations. And then something great that was provided, Seven Hills actually applied and met the requirement for 50%. So the entire community at Seven Hills is able to get free breakfast and lunch right now in the summer, which is amazing. And I'm looking, I believe you said 200, isn't that right? Around 200? 200 meals per day have been served with breakfast and lunch in that community so far. So that is so exciting that we have been able to do this summer. So kudos to that team for stepping up for our community and being able to find a way to provide those supports. AlphaBest enrollment, I had said earlier, it's average about 812, and that just, we had increase requests to add it to Seven Hills, so we will have AlphaBest at Seven Hills and Curtis next year. And AlphaBest did an end-of-school year survey, so I just put 3 of the things, but one of the programs that parents said that was the most intriguing for their children, that made the biggest difference in interest, was STEM. And they feel like that the social interaction has been improved since their students had attended AlphaBest. And then you can see the last one is how satisfied are they. So overall, those that answered, we're still seeing that they're very satisfied. And then after school enrichment, of course, we have the School Plus 2 option that we want to increase our student involvement, and that's oftentimes a challenge at elementary when they leave us. I know that many of the kids are in other things. And so I do have after school enrichment opportunities as well. And we increased from 4 providers the year before to 8 this year, and we already have 10, and I'm continuing to look for more. So we're adding another Spanish program for next year, and then the addition of piano and having a musical opportunity for our students next year. Oh, and that's it. So if anyone has any questions for myself or my team, I'm happy to answer them. No?
Jennifer, great job.
Thank you.
Teams, great job. Thank you.
Okay, next report, review summary of the 2017-18 District Improvement Plan and Annual Report. Dr. Warren?
Board, the information on this begins on page 312 in your packet. Mrs. Scott is going to go through this. Angela does a fantastic job tracking this, making sure that we track this all year round, and she's going to bring you your report this year. Angela, please.
All right. Well, we had a very busy year this year. So tonight we're pleased to bring you the summary of the District Improvement Plan for 17-18. The DIP, or the District Improvement Plan, it really is a great strategic planning tool. We start off with a needs assessment at the beginning, and then it helps us stay on target throughout the year for those areas that we want to focus on. It also helps us meet the requirements of the Texas Education Code. The board approved the 17-18 District Improvement Plan on August 14th of 2017. I know you just approved our new strategic framework, so thank you for that. But please keep in mind that this plan was based on our 2014-2018 strategic plan. So the DIP is an extension of our beliefs, vision, mission, and goals. And so this plan was then based on our now former 5 strategic goals. So we had the 5 strategic goals, the 20 performance objectives, which broke down into a total of 43 strategies. One of the interesting things I think about this plan is that we really did take a focused approach going into it in the development process of it. In years past, those performance objectives really stemmed from the objectives that were approved in the strategic plan. What we found is that during that 4-year period, some of those objectives became a little dated. Some of them we'd already accomplished, some of them were no longer the focus of what we really needed to work on. So one of the changes you saw with the start of this plan was that it included, yes, the continuation of some of those objectives from the strategic plan, but it also included the superintendent's priority goals and truly some of those identified areas of need. As a result, we ended up being able to decrease our strategies from 118 to 43. Our planning schedule is pretty structured. We brought to you, again, the board approved the DIP on August 14th, followed by the campus improvement plans on August 28th. As you can see, we had 4 quarterly formative reviews. Those reviews are conducted in cabinet. That gives us a great time to share among the departments, to collaborate, and then it also helps us to stay on track throughout the school year to see how we're progressing. The summative review is what's included in your packet, so I'm not going to go into detail. But just to give you an idea as to what you're looking at, every section is identified by the goal, followed by the objective. And then as part of the summative evaluation, you'll see a statement under each objective that provides you with a kind of an overview as to how we felt we met that objective. After that are all the strategies, and you can see the progress that we made during the formative review throughout the year. In this example, the green circle indicates that that was a strategy that was completed during the school year. The other ones that you will see will be the blue arrow. That means that it's a strategy that we had progress on, but it will be continued. And then the red X is one that will be discontinued. So just for convenience sake, we provided you a chart based on every goal of the strategies that were completed, the ones that will be continued, and the ones that were discontinued. So the first one is for goals 1 through 3. And then goals 4 and 5. So for the total of 43 strategies that we had in the plan, 29 were completed, 13 will be continued, and then we only had one that was discontinued. So I think the 17-18 plan, it represents a lot of hard work. It represents a lot of success, and we wanted to pull out some of those highlights of this year's plan. So for student successes, we increased the number of K-2 students reading on grade level to 85%. We increased the SPED enrollment in career pathways by more than 10%. Decreased the discipline referrals and received positive feedback on the PBIS. Involved more than 80% of second students in a curricular activity, and we're actually able to track those kiddos. For our operational successes, we increased the knowledge, quality, and recognition of our guest educators. We hosted a successful NISD career fair, managed timely and successful building projects, and you get to hear about those quite a bit, and generated $250,000 through 3 to 5 year advertising contracts. So the district improvement plan is just part of our planning, strategic planning process. So with the completion of this plan, what will come next is the development of the superintendent's priority goals in August, the next district improvement plan in September, and then the campus improvement plan in October. At your table, congratulations and kudos to the communications department. At your seat, you'll have the new annual report, hot off the press. So Emily and her team did a great job developing that. It includes the achievements throughout some of the highlights of achievements. It'll be posted online and then also shared in the NISD News emails with families. So are there any questions?
Good job, Angela.
Okay, our next report is May Financial Investment Report. Dr. Warren?
All right, take us home, John.
We have money, it's well invested. Would you like more, or is that? We have $25 million matured in May, $15 million in the general operating fund, $10 million in capital projects. $15 million is about what we run a month in expenditures, about $12 for payroll, and about $3 for accounts payable, roughly speaking. We had $220 million invested. The capital projects fund's down to $31 million, except we will receive $100 million from the sale, and that will come to us in June. So you'll see that number shoot back up next month. It's laddered out. It's diversified in its portfolio. When you look at the benchmark comparison, we're still doing pretty good against the benchmarks. It's kind of hard to keep up because our investments are usually laddered out for a year, and interest rates continue to rise as the Fed drives up the low end of the yield curve with additional rate increases. There'll probably be, I think there was or will be one here in June. Earnings to date were $330,000 for the month of May and $2.7 million for the year to date. The investment report is attached and the financial report is attached. This will be the last financial report. We won't do one in June. The auditors are here, and we will give you an official report as of fiscal year end in June at the October board meeting when the auditors have finished their work. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Graswich, I do have one question. How much money do we owe if we were to pay off all of our bonds, or do I want to know?
Somewhere between $800 million and $1 billion. Off the top of my head, I don't have it in front of me, but it's in that range.
Okay, thank you.
I will email Dr. Warren and have him email you the exact number tomorrow.
Any other questions?
I want to say it's like $850 million the more I think about it, but I don't know why I'm saying that. But that's about what comes to mind.
Yeah, thank you for letting us say that out loud. Thank you, Mr. Schluter.
Transparency. One of the things that you see on our ratings from Fitch and Moody's is the fact that we do have a fairly large amount of debt, but as a fast-growth school district, that comes to the territory.
Thank you, John.
Okay, moving on to item 15, consider any item removed from the consent agenda. There were none. President's report. Don't forget SLI conference June 28th through the 30th at Omni Hotel in Fort Worth this week, and TASB convention September 28th through 30th in Austin. Registration is opens June 19th. Let Jennifer know if you'd like to attend. And now the superintendent's report.
Just a couple of things, board. Remember, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we have SLI. We're all scheduled to go Thursday, Friday, and or Saturday. So we'll see each other there. I think we have a couple of lunches so that we can do that. Before I leave for my time off in July, board, I'm going to email you just some of my suggestions for both the legislative priorities. We're going to start really digging into those and my performance objectives. And so remember, when I send it via emails, never reply all. But if you would reply back just to me some of your ideas as well for both of those subject areas, the legislative objectives and the superintendent's performance objectives, that can really get us started getting centered on those when we hit the ground running in August. Mrs. President, that's all I have.
Move.